And then because you're doing new pads, it doesn't matter left and right. But if we were putting your old pads back in, you'd want to keep track which one was left and which one was right, because sometimes they wear differently depending on how the pistons are pushed out. So one might be slightly narrower than the other, and that would cause your rotor to rub if you switched them. Yep, so these just go with that spring, slide right into the top. This is just a safety screw. Like, to put it in perspective of how not important how tight this really is, Shimano just uses a cotter pin. Put your little there, and then the wheels can go back in now. What I like to do though is I like to start fresh with a brand new brake adjust, even because I'm putting in new pads, so it's going to be different. So I will actually, and I'd say probably closer to 10 Newton meters on those ones, a little bit tighter. So if you squeeze your front brake, you can really feel the difference because we haven't bled the front one yet. It feels real squishy compared to your rear. 0.9, so. Yeah, your rotors are still in really good shape. Put the rotor or the wheel away from where I'm working, so that way it doesn't get a chance of getting any fluid on the rotor. So take your front pads out, same thing we did with the other one. Not quite as thin in the back, but it's a good time to replace them. And don't be afraid to use a lot of this stuff. It evaporates quickly, and the more the merrier for cleaning.
What is it?
It's isopropyl alcohol, 90%. So as long as your pistons are metal, they're ceramic, you have to use an actual tire lever the whole time. And a trick is if those don't want to go back in with pressure, Tom, you can open up this bleed valve and it'll allow you to push the pistons out because it won't be pressurized anymore. So you have to insert your bleed blocks so your pistons can't move. And then your old fluid, you want to discard. You always want to at least start with brand new fluid. So I like to discard into just our random fluid bottle that we put all old fluid in. This bleed kit is kind of spendy, so if you do decide you want to start doing your own brakes, just know this kit's about $100. But their syringes are way nicer than the Shimano kits. The Shimano kits are like half the price, but their syringes are really cheesy. That rubber plug for the that special tool called the bleeding edge is a tool. Yeah, so you'll fill this one all the way up, pretty much all the way up. Set it off to the side. This one you just want to wet the hose in the bottom of the syringe with no air in it. Okay. And then take your 4mm. Make sure that's loose enough to where you can get it by hand. This usually has an audible click front, so if you don't hear it, Tom, then it means it. So that one here, that kind of click into there. So here, I'll take it back out so you can hear it. But see that little click? It means you're in there all the way. So we'll let this one sit for a second, and then we'll insert your syringe to the lever side. Oh, you also want to make sure that your reach is set all the way out to allow the most amount of fluid, so that way your reach adjust makes a difference. Because if you don't, you'll tighten it in and you'll start to lose brake contact that way. That's why some brake levers actually have a contact adjust for that reason. These ones don't. So like on your brake, see how it says guide RS? So that means you have a reach adjust with the swing link. The RSCs have the reach adjust, swing link, and a contact roller where you can adjust the contact on the brake. So if you want to upgrade your brakes, you can just get RSC levers and use the same caliper and still get that adjustment. Remove this screw. Like I said, you just want to make sure the screw comes out with the O-ring. So like sometimes I'll just kind of fold the screw sideways like that and make sure that there's an O-ring on there.
Wait, let me see.
Okay. Because sometimes it'll stay in that hole, which you don't want. So then this just threads in, so it's snug. And then now you start your bleed process. So you use this red lever, break your bleed port open.
Which way did you twist that?
Counterclockwise, so pretty much to loosen it. And your front brake did not have much air in it, but still a good idea to bleed it. Open that just a little bit more, just make my life a little easier. Oh, there's some air. And your front brake fluid's in just as good shape. You'd be surprised. Some of these do that fluid comes out black. You can't even see through it. So realistically, your fluid's in really good shape for the age of it. So yeah, I would say every year I would stick to that. Some people, we have to bleed their brakes every 3 to 6 months because, like, especially on downhill bikes, people who are really hard on their brakes and their brakes get hot. We'll see that a lot with. Yep. So then once you always want to leave a little bit in the syringe so that way you don't shove air back into it when you're closing this. Close that, and then I like to pull this out with a rag in my hand just so that way it eliminates the mess. And then, like I said, we'll continue into the lever bleed. Same thing we do on the other side. And you kind of want to get that loud flick onto it because it's those kind of jerky movements that's going to allow that air to come out.
Are you doing pressure here too?
You don't have to. Sometimes I just do pressure when I see bubbles. If I put pressure down and let it back up, it shoots the bubbles up faster. It just makes the bleed procedure go faster, but it's not necessary. Cool. So your brake bleed's done for the lever bleed's done. So you remove this, and seeing that fluid drain out like that is what you want. Because like I said, you want that meniscus to sit over the hole. Because if your fluid was below the top of the threads, when you put this in, you'd be shoving air into it. So you put this in there, and then you'll see how the screw displaces the fluid and brings it back out, and it starts to leak more. That's exactly what you want. So because we changed your pads, the thickness are going to be different. So if we leave it where you had adjusted from your previous pads, it's going to rub in one way or another. So if you just loosen these enough to where the caliper can move freely on both of them, like this, and then I usually just got a caliper. So that's perfect. Some clear grease on this so it doesn't look like it was starting to try to rust in there. Just so that way it doesn't get seized like it was earlier. Yeah, so now look how much easier it comes out. First I'm going to lower your lever back to where it was. Right there. We're going to do the same thing, so just front forward and stop your brake, pump it a couple times and hold it tight. And then what you want to do is just want to walk back and forth, evenly tightening this. And then check and see if you're, with just a slight, real slight bit of rub, you can get that out. So usually what you do is you make sure one's tight, and then you can loosen one. And then come down here and kind of look through there and see where it's rubbing at. And just move it ever so slightly like that. And you just tighten back up. And now you have no rub. And now your brake feels like brand new brake again. So once this is opened, it's only good for about a month. So I just marked the month and year on it. So if the end of March hits, this is garbage. Brakes, you really only need one finger to brake with. So to adjust your reach, I usually adjust my reach to where my fingers sink comfortably between these two parts of your finger. So if you need to adjust your reach out or in for that, this is what this reach adjust is for. So if you set it clockwise, they move out. Counterclockwise, they'll move closer to your grip.